These images are what writer and director Gil Keenan shared during the early production of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. While they weren't behind-the-scenes material from the film itself, they served more as mood boards for the tone he was going for. These images gave fans a solid idea on how this Five Nights at Freddy's movie would feel like. Of course, we all had preconceived ideas on what a Fnaf movie would be like. Dark, foreboding, completely devoid of joy, and with the constant feeling that something sinister was lurking just out of frame. We know how the final film turned out, and we also know that making a Fnaf movie was a lot harder than we imagined, as we explored in my previous video about the unmade Fnaf scripts. However, ever since I made that video, a partial portion of one of these early scripts has surfaced, or at least a detailed overview of its story. So let's take a look at this version of the Five Nights at Freddy's film. A little while ago, a YouTube channel named The Geek Garage held a giveaway that included many pieces of production material from Hollywood. One of these items was a signed copy of a Five Nights at Freddy's script written by Gil Keenan and Tyler Burton Smith. Dated September 2016, this was one of the earliest versions of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Unfortunately, the full script is not available to read online. Luckily, The Geek Garage was kind enough to share several details from it. This version of the story followed a group of kids named the Warlocks. They ran some kind of YouTube channel, and in the film, while investigating stories for their channel, they stumble upon a story about a dead security guard named Mike Schmidt, and also came across a story of the disappearance of 5 children from a few years earlier. Of course, William Afton is responsible for the murder of these children. However, according to The Geek Garage, Afton never makes a physical appearance in the film. He's only present through flashbacks or archival footage, which I'd imagine are promotional videos for Freddy's or employee training tapes. It's very likely that these kids' YouTube channel was horror-based, with the group exploring abandoned or creepy locations tied to tragic or mysterious events. Eventually, they end up at Freddy Fazbear's location, and what happens throughout the middle of the film remains pretty unclear. But we do know that in the ending, the characters are chased by the animatronics, who never turn good in the story and remain murderous all throughout. The kids escape into an underground area beneath the location, which apparently contained some kind of amusement park or workshop. In the end, the pizzeria burns down, though I'd imagine that the story leaves room for the kids to visit a different location in a potential sequel. Unfortunately, we don't know a ton about this version of the script. The person who won the script in the Geeks Garage giveaway has not shared any new details. Still, based on what we do have, it's pretty easy to piece together the overall narrative. How does it connect to the other scripts? A while ago, Scott Cawthon made a Reddit post discussing every possible version of the Five Nights at Freddy's script that had been written at the time. Based on the details we know, this script is most likely either the Misfit Kid script or the Ghost Trackers script. The Misfit Kid script centered on a boy who moved to a new town with his single mom and encountered Freddy Fazbear's. The Geek Garage mentioned that the main character's family was recently moving, which does kind of match this version. On the other hand, it could also be the Ghost Trackers script, especially if the kids' YouTube channel was about hunting ghosts and exploring haunted locations. There's also a mention of an underground workshop or amusement park, which sounds somewhat similar to the F script, which featured a hidden government facility beneath the restaurant. It is very possible that this early script served as either a bridge between ideas or was the originator of a lot of these ideas. So either this script pulled from multiple versions, or this script's ideas eventually spun off into these other scripts. If you were to ask me, this doesn't sound all that bad. If you go online and look up people's reactions, you'll see many people calling it ridiculous or claiming it would have been terrible. The main complaints are that William Afton does not appear in person, it's instead a new owner. Golden Freddy is not present, Mike Schmidt gets killed off at the very beginning, and the family diner is missing, and any references to the wider Fnaf lore. I do understand why these changes would upset some, but I don't think every single character or lore reference needed to be in the first movie. The idea that the film had to be a giant cameo fest, packed with constant nods to the games and the fandom, feels like it would have turned into a Five Nights at Freddy's Greatest Hits film rather than a proper movie. Even the early Fnaf games only had tiny, cryptic hints about the wider lore. This script shows that Gil Kenan was taking creative liberties while still trying to keep things mysterious and atmospheric, and he could have explored these wider ideas in sequels.